to the 1700s. Would you bless us by sharing how you have seen God's faithfulness through the generations of your family?
Yes, I'll be happy to. When this week in our daily bread, as I was thinking about what I would say today, speaking of God's faithfulness, I came across this verse in Psalm 100. The Lord is good, his steadfast love endures forever, and his faithfulness to all generations. I thought this fits so well, because we've certainly seen that in my generation and down through the years. My father's parents lived in Virginia in the Shenandoah Valley, and they were members of the Old Providence Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church through the generations. That church is the oldest ARP church, and it was founded in 1743. It could not be called a church because in Virginia, the Anglican church was the established church for that state, and so it had to be called a meeting house. And it was it was called South Mountain Meeting House there, and that is also, then it became Old Providence Church after they had the freedom to call it church. And Cyrus McCormick, who invented the reaper, was baptized in that church, and they still have the old stone hall, which is was the church at that time. My father, Ralph Erskine Moore, was raised in that church, and in fact, we were in about 50 miles away, but we went back to that church and joined there when we made our profession of faith. Now, I said that my father was raised there, but when the English government dug canals in the desert in India, they assigned that area to the ARP mission there. And but when the canals were there, then the people could move in and make a living there. But it was found that they didn't know anything about farming, and so that's when the ARP mission were called for an agriculturalist to help them to know how to farm. And so my father answered the call to be there. And they went out in 1925. My father's mother had been a prayer warrior. She passed away early, and her oldest daughter raised the family. There were 5 boys and 2 girls, and the oldest daughter raised the family. But and their mother was a prayer warrior, my grandmother, whom I never did know, of course. But she prayed that one of her children would become a missionary, and my father answered that call. Now, when they came home, they served 1 term there because they came home in the Depression years, and there were not funds to send them back. But and then when they were able to go, when the funds were available, they were not able to go back. They didn't pass the physical. But when my father taught agriculture for 10 years, and then he was asked to be superintendent of the Presbyterian orphanage. We had joined the Presbyterian church for a few years there, because that was closer. And so my sister and I had wanted to go to Erskine. We had prayed to go to Erskine, but it looked like with gas rationing, we would not be able to go far enough to catch a train to South Carolina. But when we moved to Lynchburg, Virginia, where the orphanage was, it enabled us to go to Erskine. That was an answer to prayer, and I think that's one of God's times of great faithfulness to us, that we were able to go to Erskine. And one reason that I'm so thankful for that is because I met Charles there. And my senior year, he came back from service, and then also God's faithfulness was, I had applied several places for teaching after college, and 3 weeks before school started, I still didn't have a place to teach. And my college president said they were wanting a Bible teacher in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Charles was from Edgemoor, but I didn't tell him that I was coming over here for a job, and that just worked out that day. I had a place to live. I had a job, and so that was also in God's plan and God's faithfulness to be here in Rock Hill, and taught 2 years, and then we married. We had pastorates in Virginia, Tennessee, and 2 in North Carolina. And just wonderful people, wonderful churches where God led us, and has been so faithful even in our children's education and plans. The places that we moved were just evidences of God's faithfulness to us. We had a ministry for 61 years. Charles was able to. God was also faithful in preserving his health. He had, in 1970, he had his first heart attack. He was in the hospital for a month. That's what they did then. And then he had triple bypass and quadruple bypass, and another heart attack. And God spared him to 94 years. And we had 67 years of marriage. And God has been so faithful and has blessed us in so many ways. And I'm just so thankful to him and praise him every day. And now that I'm alone, I'm enjoying my life at Westminster Towers. And God is faithful. And one of the ways that he's so faithful is the kindness of our church family that I appreciate so very much.
Thank you, Mary Alice. And we appreciate you, and anyone who knows